Professional Serving Community, talkradio.nyc.
What's up, world? Your boys back, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you. I'm looking at my new friend Jade Pinto's background. She got a little Buddhas in the background. I got a lot of Buddhas in the background. I feel like I got to do a little namaste in the attic for everybody here. Namaste in the attic before we get started. I am fired up, but we got to also ground ourselves. Right on, right? We got to ground ourselves. So this is Philanthropy and Focus. We've never grounded ourselves at the beginning of the show. Jade, should we get grounded? Just like be where your feet are, right? Namaste.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I dig it, man. I totally dig it. I dig your background. Matt Simoni's here. Matt, Jade, the organization is Bravo Foxtrot. We're going to get into very important conversations about the important work that the organization is doing. So first of all, let me just say this. Good morning, and thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's certainly an honor and a privilege. Anytime we have the opportunity to spread this message, spread this word um, on any platform for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're out there doing the important work, the great work. We're going to talk about it. There was a gentleman who reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, Tommy D, I see what you're doing in the world." He and I connected. I think he does some work with your board and does some volunteerism. And I watched the movie, the documentary that the organization produced. And I said, "Oh my goodness, man, I got to connect with these folks. I got to do what I can, lend my platform, as you say, lend my reach and connect you with the people in my world." So the show is Philanthropy and Focus. We do it every Friday morning, live and direct. 2 flights up from my kitchen where I get my coffee in my attic. That's where I do the show. We're having a good time with it. I took last week off, so we had as they say in the business, a rerun. Remember reruns? We had a rerun. Rerun was like on What's Happening, but that's a different rerun. But I had a re-show last week, a replay of a show, and I just got to shout out the Long Island Imagine Awards, which we all haven't connected since my audience and I haven't connected. So I got to just shout out the winners in each of the categories, and I'm going to do that for you right now before we get into this morning's program with this organization, Bravo Foxtrot United Veterans. Here's what we're going to do. Long Island Imagine Awards. The winners in the Long Island Imagine Awards for the 12th Annual Imagine Awards in each of the categories. Let me give it to you quickly. So in the Bethpage Federal Credit Union DEIA Award was the Women's Diversity Network. In the Serenian Associate Social Impact Award was SCO Family of Services. Sir Tillman Ballin Leadership Excellence Award went to David Kilnick from LGBT Network. Spirit of Huntington Arts Center won the Claire Friedlander Family Foundation Arts and Culture Award. Flagstar Bank sponsored the Innovation Award, and Green Inside and Out won that award. Jovia inducted Jovia Financial Credit Union inducted Viscardi Center into the Hall of Fame. So that was a big deal. A lot of crying. Shout out to Dr. Chris Rosa and all the people over at Viscardi. Hair We Share won the Nerds That Care. That rhymes. Won the Nerds That Care Fan Favorite Award. And in the Vanguard Benefits, that's us. That's my agency. Vanguard Benefits Rising Star Award was Holocaust Museum and Tolerance Center. The 12th annual Long Island Imagine Awards are in the books. And earlier this week, I got, I think, 300 applications in my inbox that I'm going to be reading through for the New York City Imagine Awards. So this is what the nonprofit sector is about. It's all about support. It's all about collaboration. Matt and I were talking right before the show when we get warmed up and saying, you know what, man, it's about how do we find ways to collaborate? It's how do we all get better together? It's how do we advance the services and programs we're providing when the opportunity arises to collab, to work together. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation. I want to read something on the organization, and then I want to have Matt and Jade introduce themselves. Bravo Foxtrot United Veterans Incorporated emerged as a beacon of hope for veterans navigating the often tumultuous journey from active duty service to civilian life. Focused primarily on homeless veterans. Let me pause right there in the middle of a sentence. Homeless veterans. That's an issue that we have in this country, really, gang. I know
Two words that shouldn't even be in the same sentence as
shouldn't
each
even
other.
exist. Shouldn't even exist. I mean, I literally,
Right.
it's kind of the show. This is not really buttoned up, Matt. This is me literally stopping in the middle of reading a sentence to go, that's
Yeah.
tragic. We must address that. But I'll go back for a second so you all can get context. Focused primarily on homeless veterans and they're grappling with mental health issues and substance abuse. BFUV adopts a holistic strategy centered around advocacy, outreach, and collaborative resources, AOR. I literally had, this doesn't happen, but for some reason the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up as I read that. I have chills about this, which that's telling me that we're on point here, telling the story this morning. The universe is speaking through me, man, and it's saying, listen, Tommy D, this is important. We must focus on this. So yeah, well, maybe Tommy D will laugh a little bit this morning, but this is serious stuff, Matt and Jade. Let's dive into this. Well, I'll read more later on, but Matt, I guess you want to start us off and tell us why this organization exists?
Yeah, I would love to. So I would have to start by saying that first of all, I am absolutely so humbled and so honored to be able to sit here, have this conversation with you, and have others hear my voice. And I made a vow to myself that I would always remind myself of that. And I remind myself of it every single day because by all means I really shouldn't be here right now. And when I say that, my military service, where that's taken me when so many others have lost their lives, which is an interesting thing because some of us, many of us, we pay with our lives all at once, but most of us, we pay with our lives over a lifetime. And it's an interesting concept, but let me focus on what you asked me. So back in November of or October of 2006. I was a young man by the age of 20, 21 years old, and I decided to enlist in the United States military. And I did so. I served for nearly a decade, just under. I had planned on doing a career, making a career out of the military. I mean, I felt like I really found my niche, if you will, in life, and I excelled. I excelled to the degree in which, and let me preface this with this is not to boast or to state my accolades in any way, but rather it's to showcase where life can take us, both the highs and the lows, and the paradox, if you will, of my story. So when I enlisted, I ended up serving under Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation New Dawn. I also served, I've been to just about every single country throughout the north of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, all of that being said, I had a top secret clearance. I was with the Chief of Naval Operations, Priority One Command. That is a tier one command. For those of you who aren't familiar with DevGru, DevGru is the unclassified term for the command who I was with. That was a command that was responsible for taking down OBL, or Osama bin Laden. Now, throughout all of those accomplishments, and we're talking about some real accomplishments, folks, I found myself after I was discharged, forcibly discharged, might I add, in 2016, divorced from my wife at the time. At the time, my wife, I divorced. I was a stranger to my children. I became isolated, depressed, anxiety, struggle with anxiety, severe anxiety. My home, did I say my home was foreclosed on? Uh, Again, if I said this, I don't know if I said if my truck was repossessed. I lost everything. And this is so real to me. It's so real that I could, as I'm speaking to you, I could break down in tears because I can't in words can't describe the roller coaster that my life has taken me on to bring me to where I am now. I was homeless, living behind a Wawa's gas station. Wawa is a prominent gas station south of the Mason Dixon line, and living in tents or figuring out ways to survive. And I lived this way for a year and a half. I tried to take my own life several times, just wishing that I had died on the battlefield so that I could regain, or rather, if I was able to reverse time, I would have felt that there would have been some dignity in that, versus where I was, and then where I was at that time.
So the high level of authority and pride and involvement, and you were making a difference to the point where tragically you're on the street and you've lost everything. Um, I, I, the fact that I said this in the beginning of the show, the fact that this is even a thing is should be incredible to us. That it is. First of all, let me go back for a second. The fact that we allow people to be homeless, that we're not addressing homelessness, let's just say that, right? I don't understand it. I don't have the solution for it, but I think, we need to talk about it. Then I think you take that homelessness challenge and you have our veterans who we made a commitment to, right? Matt and Jade, we made a commitment that when someone goes over and does this work on behalf of us, that we're going to support them. And then Matt, is the support is not there. It's unavailable, that sort of thing.
So, okay, interesting. So now we're not in the Vietnam era,
Right.
So this is the paradox I was referring to earlier, because with all of the resources, we're talking about local, state, federal, private, the goodwill of the donating public, with all of these resources available, we're forced to sit there and ask ourselves, why? What are we missing? There's something missing, because housing, sustenance, as in food, mental health services, awareness for mental health and suicide. It's all out there. So why is it? So why is it that we're still seeing very highly underreported? We say 22 a day. The number is actually much higher than 22. But why are we seeing veteran suicide as high as it is? Why are we seeing homeless veterans? Why are we seeing issues with veterans at all? And the solution, or the reason, is accessibility.
All right. I thought that's what you were going to say, right? It's not this is what I say about the homelessness and the people living with food insecurity. I don't believe that there are not enough resources. I believe that the access points are broken down. So right, Jade? I see you nodding. I put you on mute for so that's what I believe it is. It's an access situation. It's not that there's not enough, because you can't tell me this planet doesn't have enough food for the people on it, because it certainly does. Because you see so much waste and you see so many things thrown away, and you can't tell me we can't create housing. The soapbox is going to come out, gang. It'll come back out. It's probably be in the second and third segment of the show. I know I'm going to get up there, but accessibility. I want to talk about that when we come back. We'll take a quick break. I want to hear more from Matt and from Jade. The organization is Bravo Foxtrot United Veterans. We're pissed off for greatness. Okay, this is one of those shows where we're making change. We're going to make change in real time, and I hope just the access points that I have are going to be helpful to this. So, Jade Pinto, Matt Simoni from Bravo Foxtrot. Right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
The only song in the history of songs that talks about Tommy D doing a radio show in his attic. Well, that was kind of specific. There should only be one song for that, but I'm going to write a new one. It's going to be a reggae joint. We're going to work it out, because that's where I vibe on, is that whole reggae tip. So let's get back into it, Matt. We were just talking about accessibility, but Jade, I want to get you into the conversation because I want to hear a little bit about your involvement in the organization. Then we're going to get into programs and what the organization does and how we can help and things like that.
All right. I didn't come from a very military-based family, so I understood that it was difficult, for the soldiers coming home, but not like it is. And the resources are there, but the way that they're discharged is a little interesting. a lot of these kids go from their mother's house to the military, never making even a doctor's appointment for themselves. So when they come home, they're expected to do everything on their own, find everything on their own, be able to pay everything on their own. Last day that they have health insurance is the last day that they are in the military.
Yeah.
The last day they get paid is the last day that they're in the military. So the rest is on their own. So in the beginning, what really happened was I went through after his discharge, I met Matt shortly after, and kind of went through that with him and seeing how difficult it was, even not only for them, but for the people supporting them. And if you don't know exactly where to go, then it's almost impossible to find.
That's so the caregiver, the loved one, the person looking out, the partner, right, is experiencing that as well. And it's interesting because what you're saying there is, those of us civilians, we don't know what it's like. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I'll never, this is a live show and it's recorded and it goes out to the world forever. So it's just going to be out there. But I think my mom was doing my laundry till I was like 28 when I lived home until I was married with my wife. So I'm not sure I was much different about doing my own stuff either. But I'm pretty good at laundry now. We got a bunch of kids, so I figured out how to do laundry. But I what you're saying is important to understand because these might be 30, 40-year-old men or women that are coming out 29, 32, 36, whatever it might be, that have served and now have to come back to this civilian life that is obviously very different than what their experience was, and Matt shared.
Very different.
Yeah, shared some.
Very different. They're also very much trained to be a certain way. So the where we're finding that post-traumatic stress is not so much a disorder, but an injury where it changes the brain, changes the nervous system. So that's all cultivated while they're in there the whole time, but it is not adjusted or undone when they come home.
Wow, let's stay there a second. So not a disorder, but an injury that is not, Matt, come back in here. Not a disorder, but an injury, and an injury that if I'm hearing you correctly and reading between the lines, does not heal.
Well, yeah, and I wanna emphasize this because it's absolutely so important. Now, we've constantly changing the word around, right? So we have PTSD, we have shell shock, we have PTSD, and now the latest thing now is, well, it's not a disorder, so we're gonna call it PTS, post traumatic stress. Now, when you had just mentioned injury, that's something that's so vitally important. Let me explain why. Because when somebody loses an arm in battle, or if somebody it suffers some type of a physical, or I shouldn't say that, but if somebody suffers some type of visible by the naked eye wound, we consider that an injury. And that's something that is easy to see and people can understand now, and there's no stigma attached to it. But now we say post-traumatic stress injury. And the reason we say that is because these, and Jade could speak a little smarter on this than I can, but what I can say is that we can actually measure with medical equipment the difference rather in the brain and the functionality of the brain before and after, especially combat related traumatic stress.
So I want to hear from Jade on that because you said she's got some intel on it. I don't want to, and what I'm gonna, but here's the thing. You know what? I understand where we're going. I think if we call this an injury, right, it's a different classification, and there's going to be different levels of service and different focus on it than there is when we call it PTSD. Is that fair to assume? Is that where we're going?
Yeah. And it affects the nervous system. So there's a lot of now that I'm finding all the research that they're trying to to like pre-traumatize the nervous system so that they're more likely to accept the therapies that are available. There's a lot of good places for them to go, the combat veterans and even veterans in general, to that will assist all of this, assimilation, but it hasn't been addressed as an injury at this point yet, I don't believe. But there are good programs starting.
Yeah, so I guess that would be, and I'm not an attorney, everybody, you probably know that already, but I'm guessing if the terminology was changed, it would mean certain things and it would change the way services are delivered. That's what I'm assuming.
Well, it would certainly, well, when we change it, so there's a few different things that happen changing it from a disorder to an injury. Number one is although we're making major strides in terms of the stigmatisms that come along with mental health, even if you're going back 10, 15, 20 years ago, a lot of people wouldn't want to admit if they were seeing a therapist. That would, well, what's wrong with this guy or this girl? They're seeing a therapist. It's becoming more mainstream now. But post-traumatic stress, PTS or PTSI, is something that, when in terms of the military, now it's a mental, it falls under mental health, but we need to recognize as an injury as a result of our combat service, because it is just as much an injury as if I get shot in the shoulder, if I lose a limb, if I lose a leg, it's just as much of an injury in terms of classification as any other wound. And the fact that we can now measure the difference in the way the brain fires off signals to the rest of the body and whatnot. These are major strides in being able to restore dignity and empower lives.
Yeah. The thing is, Matt, when you talk about mental health, when we all as a society talk about mental health in general terms, there has been, as we all know, a stigma attached to it. And there still is a stigma attached to the conversation around mental illness and mental health. And I spend time, in fact, on the 7th of June, I'm going to be conducting a panel discussion at the Viscardi Center out on Long Island with 4 leaders of nonprofit organizations.
Henry Viscardi School.
Yes.
Yeah, they actually have supported us in the past.
They really? I do great work with them. We'll have to connect on, and we'll get you out there. We'll meet some people. But June 7th, I'm interviewing 4 executive directors of nonprofits, and the conversation is going to be around mental health. And it's because there is a stigma attached to it. I think, to your point, though, we're getting better at that. We're getting better at seeking help and discussing that, people need help and addressing it. We're not finished by no means, but I think we're much better than we were many, many years ago. And that, to me, is enlightening, and it's a journey that we're on, and that things will continue to improve. When we come back, we'll take a quick break. I really want to get into what it is the organization does. Yeah. We know who we're serving to some extent, but I even want to find out more about who we're serving and stuff like that. So we can come back and talk about that with Jade and Matt. This is Philanthropy in Focus. We will be right back. Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
And we are back, and I'm still sharing the website, bravofoxtrot.org, but I clicked on the documentary section here, which I watched the documentary a couple weeks back. I'm going to watch it again this weekend. I decided this morning. It was so touching. It was a Sunday night when I watched it, and I said, I was chatting with somebody on LinkedIn, one of the folks that's connected to your organization, and I was like, thank you for reaching out. We got to get you guys on the show. We got to talk about this stuff, and thank you for being here. So, Jade, you want to jump in a little bit about kind of what the day in the life of the organization looks like and your role in the organization and stuff you're working on?
We originally started, how I was saying, with the way that everyone's being discharged, and how we felt that it wasn't it was very inadequate for what their needs were. As a young organization, we couldn't really get the funding that we wanted to do what we were actually doing, which was the housing and therapeutic transitional housing, which was trying to get the families together with them also to make sure that they understood what was happening and what they were going to be going through. Because if you wait, they're not going to do it on their own. They're actually very much trained not to go to therapy or to acknowledge that that they have any kind of mental stress at all. So I'm hoping that we are able to make enough noise where it's actually adjusted, where it's almost mandated, or suggested heavily where it's right away.
Which part are you saying?
Meantime,
what are you saying? What's mandated and right away? What are you talking about?
Well, as they're being discharged from the military, they have a program. It's only I guess 10 days, Matt was saying, where they learn to fill out a resume, and that's to get them ready to exit the military.
Okay.
But nothing else is addressed. Nothing else is addressed. So people who aren't honorably discharged, who are other than honorably, who are already exhibiting PTS, they're already exhibiting those issues. They're not they're actually pushed out instead. So they I feel that they would already know that the family's going to be affected. They're going to be affected. By the time we're meeting these men that are out of the military 10, 20 years, the mental stress of being out is already overpowering anything else that we could do. So we've been trying to make them comfortable. We'll get them housing. We get them all these things. Matt's an amazing advocator. He can get them upgraded, their discharge upgraded. He's been doing a lot with them. But if their mental health is not addressed, then they aren't allowing themselves to further progress themselves in life. So we're going back now to what we originally wanted to do and start addressing the way that they're discharged.
That's awesome, Matt.
Because yeah.
Yeah, Jade, that's awesome. So again, like I know many organizations are bringing services to these to the community. However, what I'm hearing from you is we need to be almost like triage or some kind of like I just pulled up a website before you say something, Matt. I want to just say this. My friend who's been on the show, Helen Dottie Adams, founded an organization connecting the dots for veterans, which is a nonprofit that brings education to veterans as they're getting out about what their rights are, what not rights is the wrong word, but what their benefits, what's there for them. So shout out to go to myvetcoach.org. Dottie Adams been on the show, was introduced from my friend Mick Collins, who's a veteran. And I think you all should connect with Dottie. We'll have to make Jade. We'll take that. We'll make it happen. Because that's the stuff you're talking about. Like that's real. That's real. Like somebody's about to be discharged, and they're going to need services, and they're going to need support. And to your earlier point, again, I'm not a veteran, so I'm speaking. I'm learning. But to your point is maybe they lived home when they were younger, and everything was taken care of, and then they go to the military, and certain things are taken care of, and then then it's on you, and you've been. It's not, and that's just a piece of this whole thing.
It's after trauma,
right?
After trauma, after seeing what they've seen.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, then you throw in what these individuals have done and have seen, right? But so now you've gone through trauma, and now you have to figure this out. No, we need support. That's what we need. Second ever episode of this program, Dr. Larry Grubler, CEO of Transitional Services for New York, TSINY. They serve 5,000 individuals in the 5 boroughs. I'm sure many of these individuals are veterans, and they serve 5,000 individuals. And he said to me, Tommy, we all need support at different times, and we all need some help. And that's it, gang. That's what it is. And that's what I'm hearing you say, Jade, is the resources are there, but and it's really how do we help individuals access and get to these resources? That's part of it. Jade, I think you have something to say, and then Matt.
No, I think he's ready.
So, yeah, absolutely. I want to say a couple of important things here. So, the amount of money, the amount of funding, the dollars, that's something that we can all understand. We can quantify things, and it becomes easy for us to understand in our minds. So the amount of funding that is available for the Department of Defense, the DoD, when it comes to deploying our service members downrange, sending them into a combat zone, when it comes to ensuring that they are fit for full duty, when it comes to ensuring that they are ready to enlist in the armed forces, is astronomical. The funding is there, and there's no shortage. However, when it comes to ensuring that our service members are not fit for full duty, but fit for civilian life, when it comes to ensuring that our service members, after being trained to kill for a number of years, after being exposed to prolonged combat, being exposed to major traumatic events in terms of the loss of life of our brethren. All of the following I am unfortunately all too familiar with. When it comes to that funding, it is little to nothing. And therein lies a major flaw. Now, let me just stop myself there for a moment. because let me digress. Now, Jade was referring to before, there's a program that they do have. It's called the TAPS program, which is an acronym for Transition Assistance Program for Service Members. And it spans over the course of 2 weeks, 10 days to be exact, Monday through Friday. And that is it's a PowerPoint presentation that outlines primarily how to do job interviews and how to create a resume. Now, with all of that being said, 10 days and a PowerPoint does not nearly suffice or even touch the needs of our service members when reintegrating into society and their families. And it goes beyond even combat veterans, as Jade was touching on before. When we enlist in the armed forces, we're told when to eat, when to sleep. Our doctor's appointments are made anywhere we have to be. All of these things are done for us. It's very systematic. It's very regimented. And when we are discharged, the world in which we are discharged into not only is very different in terms of structure and hierarchy or whatnot, but it also does not understand military life, combat. When you go to a country like Israel, right now, or some countries in Europe, there's everybody by the time they're age of 18, well, every male at least, Israel, I think it's females now too, but every male at least by the age of 18 is required to join in the military. So upon exiting or upon discharging from the military, you find less instances of PTSI or these mental health issues. And that's simple. And that a lot of that has to do with the isolation and being marginalized by society.
I want to ask you a question. Thank you for all that. So what context you've given people that don't understand this, Matt? I think it's incredible context. It's really, to me, it's a paradigm situation, right? It's a veteran is in one paradigm, and then they're in this other paradigm called civilian life, right? With all these, you said you go from a systematic and regimented life to something that is much less structured, if at all. Like life, in regular America where you're not in service is not structured at all, right? So, my question is, or I guess it is like, how does give me the context. You say you have 2 weeks of a PowerPoint and some training, right? So 10 days, right?
10 days, yeah, Monday through Friday.
I want to know, so if that happens on today, if it happened earlier this week, starting this Monday, which was, I guess, the 6th of May, right? Where was that veteran 3 days before that started?
Yeah, so three days, but 3 days before that started,
before they came home for this 10-day thing, where were they?
Right. So prior to going to a program like the TAPS program, they would, whatever they were in. They were in. Completely 100%. Acting within an active duty parameters, whatever their command or their superior officers, whatever we are told to do, or whatever our mission was at that time, that's what we're doing. We literally go from that to a 10-day program to and maybe a week or so of some administrative odds and ends, getting our paperwork together, to nothing. Zero.
Yeah, so that's what I need people to hear, Matt. Like when we talked about this last night, like that reality that, okay, if I'm in the service
Stark reality.
and I'm downrange, as your term, I'm using your terminology. If I'm downrange and I'm in a combat scenario and then I'm discharged on Friday, theoretically I could be in a quote unquote PowerPoint classroom on Monday in civilian world where I was on the front lines.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't have that context, but hearing that told that way, I'm affected by that. I think others would be like, that doesn't really make sense. Like you need a little more transition. And then you go through that program. And after that program, you say little paperwork, little odds and ends. And now it's like, okay, now you're 3 weeks out and you're supposed to go, I assume, go get a job, go get housing, reintegrate into society, utilize all different services, maybe, go to the supermarket, things that you never had to do, not never, but haven't had to do in a long time, because your role was to be in the service, not to be worried about, how do I find a meal and how do I find housing and all that stuff. That was managed for you. So I'm trying to be dramatic here, and maybe it's coming across that way, but the point is that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to me. That doesn't seem like it's enough.
It is. I mean, it doesn't make sense, and this is one of the topics that we really try to shed a lot of light on, because it's being set up for failure in many ways. And I remember it like it was yesterday, and so many of our young service members, because let's not also forget out there, ladies and gentlemen, that these men and women, these boys and girls that are being recruited from high school, many of them 17 years old, and are now, I don't know, the demographic, the viewer demographic here, but I can tell you for myself that I have a daughter who's 18 years old right now. And she cannot legally buy alcohol and consume alcohol inside or in this country by our laws. However, she could have already enlisted at 17, before 18th birthday, enlisted, been shipped off to combat, and died for our country. And these are our children. These are our children who are not fully developed in many ways. And let it not be mistaken, I'm a patriot. I'm a proud patriot of our nation. However, it is our civic duty to point out and to address the issues that are going on. And I want to say out there to all the veterans who are listening, that it's very easy to sit here and to say, well, the VA sucks and the VA moves like molasses, and you go to put in a claim and you don't hear anything back, and this, that, and the third. But we need to start taking personal responsibility ourselves, and we need to be proactive. And that's really Bravo Foxtrot United Veterans, and what we're here doing is we need to, and that's what we say, restore dignity and empower lives. And through being proactive and through learning how to self-advocate, and collectively, we are a very powerful demographic.
I love this.
And we need to really wrap our heads around that and understand that a little more.
Yeah, restore dignity and empower lives. Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely personal responsibility. However, we also need support, like we talked about, Matt. So, yes, and right? Yes, and we got to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show. When we wrap up, I want to know what's upcoming for the organization, how we can help, what collaborations you all might be looking for. While we go to break, I'm going to share the website for my other friend, Helen Dottie Adams. So you all can check that out, myvetcoach.org. But I put them in the chat for you, Jade. We'll connect on that later on. We should all jump on a Zoom meeting. All right. Going to a break. Right back.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
We're back, and this is sort of like the lightning round, like at the end of a game show when it goes bing, 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 bing. It's the lightning round. We're running out of time because I allowed us, because we were having an important conversation, I allowed us to go way over on our breaks on the last segment. So we're gonna have to sum it up shortly this morning. But I there's something I want to say, Matt. You said I'm a patriot. It's not that I'm against anything that this country does, but as a patriot and as a veteran who is all about service, you're continuing to serve in the work you're doing right now. You're continuing to serve those in need, which is the agreement you made years ago back in 2006, and you're continuing to live that out as an unlisted, as somebody who's left the service in that regard. So I mean, isn't that what this is about? It's to continue to serve, and it's I don't think it needs to be a binary thing where it's like because I'll speak for myself. Because I'm upset about the way things are being done means I don't love this country. No, I love this country and I love the people in this country and I want to make things better for people, right? I mean, isn't that all we're talking about?
That's exactly what we're talking about. And those are the principles. Those are the principles that this nation, this great nation of ours, were founded upon. It's we the people. It's our civic duty. We need to stand up and we need to take positive control of the situations that we see before us. We can't always pass the buck and pass the responsibility on to someone else. I can say that one of the things that we do that does set us apart is the fact that we are going out there. We're going out to the train stations at night. We're going out to these wooded lots scattered throughout our communities here on Long Island. And we are locating homeless veteran encampments where, we're not all about homeless veterans, but we saw something. We are seeing homeless veteran encampments. These are some of these gentlemen, happen to be men, are homeless by choice. They don't want to be in society. They've isolated themselves, and these are scattered right under our noses, right in wooded lots, Nassau, Suffolk County. It's happening. It's right here. right off the side of the LA.
Yeah, and I've been telling people that you both were coming on the show today, and I tend to be dramatic, and I'm a bit of a performer when I want people to pay attention to what I'm saying. I'll pause and I'll be extra dramatic and things like that. But to tell that story, unfortunately, the way I think many people treat people who are homeless on the street, I think that's tragic in general. Just walking past people as if they're not human beings, right? And then to think that our veterans are living in the woods or living in a train station, a depot or something, or wherever, that's I was going to use the word tragic earlier in the show, and I probably did already, but I overuse that word, although this is a tragic situation. But it's also the fact that these people are not being served is an embarrassment, I think, in a lot of ways. Like, if I'm not even saying other countries, but if somebody came down from another planet and looked, they go, really? These are their warriors? That's how they award their warriors. Oh, wow, that's something else. Really? So these are people who put their lives on the line and they have to come back and live in the woods. And now I understand you said by choice. I understand you said by choice, but I think the choice is because they were not given an opportunity to integrate back into society. You wouldn't choose that if things were great for you. You wouldn't go, and I saw your video, the documentary. Someone wouldn't say, hey, man, I want to go live in the woods in the wintertime on Long Island just for the hell of it. No, it's because I wasn't integrated. I wasn't given the services, right? Right, Matt, help me.
That's right. Sad is a nation that has no heroes. Sadder is a nation that has heroes but does not honor them. And we need to really understand the level of sacrifice, the level of sacrifice that is made by these men and women, my brothers and sisters, and their families. And it's done for all of us.
Matt, I appreciate what you're doing. How can I help? What's coming up? Jade, jump into what is there anything out there you need? Are there events coming up? What can we tell people about?
We have another documentary that we're starting.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Right on.
We started filming for it. It's in Embrace the Suck, which is a military jargon, but that's yes, exciting stuff. Hazy Sun production.
That sounds like something Goggins would say. Embrace the suck. That sounds, David Goggins. That. So who's doing that for you? Hazy Sun.
Yeah, Hazy Sun production. They helped us, or they were the production company that filmed Long Island's Forgotten Heroes, which you could see on our website, bravofoxtrot.org, under the documentaries tab. Right now, we're in the process of filming our second documentary, as my wife Jade was saying, which is Embrace the Suck, which is really going to do a deep delve into the mental health aspect of military service, combat service.
Our mental health.
Right, as well, Jade, yeah.
Say it again, Jade. I didn't hear you.
I was joking. And our mental health.
As a family, of course. Yeah, without a doubt. Listen, man.
And doing this, but yeah.
100%. Look, gang, what the difficult part of my show is that it ends. So it is, and we're at that difficult part right now. The show for today is over, but guess what? We can all come back again and do this another time. So I just want to say thank you to Jade Pinto. Thank you to Matt Simoni. Thank you to all your board members and the volunteers and the people that do the work, because without volunteers, nonprofits really can't do what they want to do. Go ahead, Matt.
I'd love to say, if I could say one.
Go ahead. I saw you.
It's just the term that we use is God bless our troops and God bless the principles, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all that made our great nation free.
Goodbye, everybody.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the